Market update for the week of October 28th. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. Joe Werber coming at you. And the markets ended on a negative note the week before the elections. We saw all three indices down. The NASDAQ and the S&P were down about 1.5%. The Dow was flat. That means that we're now seeing the fourth quarter of 2024 right now is flat as well. But the positive news is that our one-year returns in all three indices are above 20%, closing in on 30%. So we see a good, strong one-year return. The markets are doing well, the economy is doing well, but markets hate uncertainty. They despise uncertainty. And what is our biggest question coming up? Who's going to become the president next week when the entire United States population votes? Well, we've heard this song before from both camps. Trump was president from 2017 through 2020, and we saw an astounding growth in the NASDAQ, about 160%. We saw the Dow and the S&P 500 earn over 50% during his term. And yes, I know Biden is not running, but we heard Kamala come out and say that she doesn't plan on doing anything different than he did over the last 4 years, so we can kind of think that the economy will be similar under her. And under Biden, all three indices grew over 50% during his term. Now, yes, the term is not up quite yet. We just saw the end of October. We still have November and December. But that being said, both of these potential presidents do have a track record in the White House, and the economy was strong under both of them. So whoever you're hoping becomes president, make sure that if you haven't voted yet, you get out there on Tuesday, you cast your vote, especially people in Pennsylvania. That's a very important state. So if you're going for Trump, if you're going for Kamala, get out there and vote. But let's talk about what's really happening behind the scenes, because no one is discussing this. Now, if you've come in to see me, if you've had a review recently, you've heard me say this, but we are seeing corporate profit levels in this country like we've never seen before. If you take a look at this chart, we can see that from 2012 all the way through 2020, corporate profits in the United States, which, by the way, a profit is what a corporation makes after it's paid all of its expenses, and these profits are showing after they've paid their taxes. So we can see from 2012 through 2020, corporate profits in the United States were right around $2 trillion. Today, they're closing in on $3.5 trillion. That's a 63% increase in corporate profits. Now, what's driving that? It has a lot to do with inflation, because I know inflation has slowed. It's down to about 2.5%, but it was as high as 9%. So that means goods and services in this country are now 11 to 12% more expensive than they were 2 or 3 years ago. But people aren't getting pay raises to the extent of 11 or 12%. That means corporations are able to charge you 11, 12, sometimes 15 or 20% more for that same good or service that they were charging you a few years ago. They're paying their people just slightly more, and we're seeing 60+% more profits. What else is driving this is that we've never seen this many adults in the United States in the entire history of the United States. Right now, there's about 330 million Americans living in the United States. Those 330 million Americans are made up of about 260 million adults. Those 260 million adults are made up of about 90 million boomers, about 60 million Gen Xers, and about 120 million millennials and Gen Z. And this is very positive. This is why we're seeing profits go so high, because those 90 million boomers are beginning to retire. And before, the 60 million Gen Xers weren't enough, but now we got the millennials and Gen Z, so we got 180 million Americans who are going to be spending more money each and every day for at least the next decade. So we're going to continue to see corporate profits rise. And unless I'm wrong, after the election on Tuesday, I believe everybody who's watching this plans on going out and spending money on Wednesday and on Thursday and into 2024 and into 2025. You're still going to be purchasing things. You're still going to be moving this economy along. It doesn't matter who's sitting in the White House. That's one person versus the nearly 340 million of you who are out there buying and consuming and driving this economy forward. We have an election every 4 years. This is no different. The only difference is that one side is saying the other side's more crazy, and the other side's saying the other side's more crazy, and it's driving everybody insane. Everybody's full of fear. I'm here to tell you, take a deep breath. We're gonna get through this. No matter who gets elected, we're gonna make it through the next 4 years. I know they're saying we're not, but we are. I promise you, I will be right here by your side. These markets should continue to go up. we're going to see setbacks like we saw this week. And again, I said, because the markets hate uncertainty. So hopefully next week, we know who the new president is. The markets will be happy, whether it's one side or the other, and we should see the markets continue to go up. And I haven't even mentioned his name. Powell's going to have probably 2 more rate reductions this year. Now, I know he lowered rates by 0.5% and mortgages went up, and that's because the 10-year Treasury sort of popped a little bit, but we will see that start to come down. We will see these high rates begin to come down as Powell lowers rates more and more throughout 2024 into 2025. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what happens next week in the elections. I'm excited to see what happens in the market, and I'm excited to see you next week because my goal now is to have a market update every Friday. They're not all going to be this long, but I want to reach out to my clients. I want to reach out to you every Friday with my weekly market update. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have an idea for future videos, you want to leave a comment down below, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see more about what's going on in the economy when I talk to you next week. See you then.